everybody, this is Bravo with Creative2xmom. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about tips for a more affordable homeschool. So welcome back to Creative2xmom. My name is Robin, and this channel is all about homeschooling, parenthood, and thriving in the day-to-day. Today's video is going to be tips for making your homeschool more affordable. This fall, we will be going into our 9th year of homeschooling, and just saying that out loud completely blows my mind. The other day I was thinking back to when we very first started, and I had a 2nd grader, and then I had a preschooler and a baby that wasn't even a year old, and we decided that we were going to give this grand experiment a try. Now fast forward 9 years and we are still at it. I can't believe how far we've come, and yet how far and how much I feel like I still have to learn. But today's video is going to be talking about some of the tips that we have used over the years, and many that we still use in our homeschool today. I am very budget minded, and I try as hard as I can to make every penny stretch. So my first tip is to set a budget, whether that's a yearly overall budget or a monthly budget where you're going to set aside a certain amount every month, and you're going to allocate that either to be used during the yearly sales, or if you're going to allocate that to purchase as you go, as is necessary. I like to have a little bit of both. I like to have a overall yearly budget, a good number in my head of what I'm shooting for, so that I can get my main curriculum, because that's going to be the bulk of your budget. But I also like to have a little bit set aside each month, so that as smaller sales pop up, or if we need to purchase a supplement, or if we're going to go on a field trip, then I have that little bit of sort of emergency money that's coming up every month to go toward those homeschool expenses. But I think that's so important, because having a budget will keep you focused on what you can afford and your main priorities, instead of getting sidetracked by the trends and the small things that pop up here and there. I know I can have a wandering eye and say, oh, that looks like fun, but if it's not in my budget, then I need to stay focused on what our priorities really are. So I would say, after you set your budget, know your priorities. It is a huge priority for me to invest in good math. I have 2 boys who are going to be pursuing careers where they're going to need to have very strong math skills. And even though my daughter currently is not on that track, I want to keep her options open. And she has a very strong science-minded brain, so I have really worked with her to keep her math in track and in line with that. So for me, math is a priority. For you, it might look like you want a very rich literature-based curriculum for your kids, and so you're willing to explode the book budget. Maybe that's your priority. Maybe you want to have a really rich science homeschool, and so your priority is to do all the science experiments, which can get really pricey in high school. So knowing your priorities and saying, okay, this is the subject that I am willing to go really above and beyond in my purchasing, and this, kind of all the way down to this is the subject that we can pull together pretty easily and inexpensively. Knowing your priorities will help shape your particular homeschool. Okay, so you've set your budget, you've outlined your priorities. Let's get to one of the things that blows my budget away, and that is books. I feel like that blows away almost every homeschooler's budget every year. So I'm going to mention the most obvious one, and that is utilizing your library. I'm amazed how many people I know personally that don't use our library, and I feel like we have a great library system where I live. Maybe you don't, and so that tends to make a complication, but look into it. Our library system for a small town and for a small area really is very rich, and most of the time I would get almost every book that I want there, or something very comparable to it. I might not get the Usborne book that I'm looking for, but I'll find something very similar when I get a chance to get in there. So really utilize your library. Now there are also 2 electronic resources that I'm going to mention that I don't have personal experience with, but have been mentioned to me in the past that people really love, and that's Libby and Hoopla. I've heard really good things about both of them, particularly for audiobooks. I don't have that sort of technology brain yet, so I haven't ventured into that world just yet of how to attach that, but I know that you can connect through your electronic devices, and it even further opens up your options of material, books, audiobooks. I think Hoopla even has movies that you can connect to your library card and use in your homeschool. And what a great resource to really have, so you're going beyond even what you have available to you locally. Now, I really like to have the book in hand, so I use my library system quite a bit. In fact, they know me there. I had one of the librarians stop me the other day. She said, "Do you homeschool?" We had a feeling when we were pulling your books, we pretty much knew you had to be a homeschooler. Another resource that you may or may not have heard of is LibriVox. It's public domain books that you can get for free. Now, I happen to find this through Ambleside Online. We are not completely traditional Charlotte Mason purists, but there are so many great resources, and through them we have found LibriVox, where these full books are written in public domain. We did that last year when we did the Burgess book study. I could get a copy of the Burgess book from my library, but I couldn't get Blackie the Crow. So I went on to Ambleside Online, found it in public domain, completely free of charge. Again, it's an electronic source, so if you like to have the book in hand, I can't help you there. But I was even able to track it and then keep it pulled up on a tab for us as we read every day. It was really great to have that resource of not having to spend to read that book with my kiddos. Another tip I have for you is to just sort of hold yourself back from going all in. Now, I am one of those people that when I see a particular subject that I want to study, I want it all. I want the teacher's guide, I want the student text, I want all the experiments, I want all the extra manipulatives, but my budget just does not afford that. So my suggestion would be is if you're trying something new, get the bare minimum of what you think you need. Now, last year we tried the Good and the Beautiful language arts. I wasn't sure how we were going to like it. It was a big departure from what we had used in the past, and so I just went online because my son was in the younger years, and I was able to use the download for that year. Instead of going and purchasing every book, every manipulative, every text, we were able to use the electronic download. Now, that saved us because at this point we've decided we don't want to go that route. We want to go back to what we did before. So if you're trying something new, just go with the bare minimum. You don't know if you're going to like it, you don't know how much you want to invest in it, and you might actually find that you can supplement with things that you already have on hand. And then if you love it, if you think it's great, you can always go back and purchase the extras to go with it. But that really saves you if you're trying something and you're not sure how it's going to work in your homeschool. My next tip is about printing items at home. I know there's a couple of curriculum companies that I follow, and they have PDF, which can be purchased at a significant discount, which is great, especially if you think that you're going to have several children that are going to go through a consumable workbook or textbook, what have you. But I would say definitely look into what it's going to cost you to purchase that at home, and be watching for sales. Now, there was a particular book that I wanted to go with our language arts this year. The PDF was a amazing deal compared to purchasing it already printed, but I started adding up the printing costs of what it was going to cost me. It wasn't a main curriculum that we're going to be using, it was a supplemental piece, and so I put it into my Amazon cart just to watch the price, and lo and behold, it suddenly went on flash deal, and it was significantly cheaper for me to purchase it already printed than to print at home. So be careful, those prices, those parts of your budget can add up quickly, especially if you're printing anything in color, or even if you're just going black and white. If you have a pretty thick workbook, it can add up really quickly. The other thing you might do is to go through the pages and only print so many at a time, or only print the ones that you know you will use. Sometimes I will do that with nature studies or with science, different items. I might look at it and say, okay, this is what we need for the next 6 weeks, and then see how much we actually get done. A lot of times we don't actually make it to that spot in the curriculum, and I'll be glad that I didn't print any further, because things always come up. We're always a day or two behind our schedule with just life happening, and then I can go from there and go, okay, the next 6 weeks, instead of 20 pages, maybe I only need 15, and so then I'm just printing incrementally either at home or I'm sending it to a printing company to get it done. The other thing you might look for is sometimes with printing, you can get a discount if you do print it all at once, but know what companies you're working with and how that generally works for them. Will they give you a bigger discount the more pages? My next recommendation would be to know homeschoolers in your area. Now, why is this important? Because as you get to know your local homeschool community, you might find other homeschool moms that are using a very similar curriculum to you, and you can either purchase it used from them, or maybe you have something that they want to use or try. Again, trying before you buy, and you might be able to swap those things between each other. I know that's happened before with different artist studies that we've done. With some nature curriculum, I've been able to borrow from other people, books especially, that's another big thing, to being able to borrow from each other so that you can help each other in your homeschool. Maybe your friend has the 8th grade curriculum that you're going to need this year, and you happen to, your kids are aged right, that you can give them the 5th grade curriculum. Or you're using some Good and the Beautiful homeschool studies, and they've printed out the teacher's manual for space science, and they want to try the marine biology that you have, and you can swap them for the semester. Now, this is a little tricky. You've got to know who they are and know that they're going to take care of it and have built that relationship. So make sure that you're building those relationships with local homeschoolers, and you never know who might have a resource that you can use. And my last tip is to make Amazon wish lists. Sometimes when I watch videos like these, or I see homeschool favorites videos, or I'm looking on a blog and I see a really fun, manipulative, or game. I just filmed a games video a couple weeks ago that I want, but it doesn't quite fit in the budget. I'll put it on my Amazon wish list, let it sit there until my budget opens up a little bit more, and then through that wish list I can go through and prioritize. Oh yeah, I saw that game, and that would be really great for multiplication that we're struggling with right now. I think this is the right time to purchase it. Or you might go through that wish list later on, like I have, and think, oh, that was a really great game at the time, but my kids have aged beyond that, and I'm kind of glad we didn't purchase it because it would have been for a short window of time. Then you can just kind of delete it off your wish list and move on. The other great thing about wish lists is that then that item is there when your kid has a birthday or when Christmas rolls around. I know my kids have fall birthdays, so I really struggle with Christmas lists because I've bought them the fun things for their birthdays, and I don't always know what to purchase for Christmas. So having that on the wish list, I can go back and go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's a great idea. Or I can suggest that to grandparents. This would be a great idea, a great game, a great book, something that they're really interested in right now that we can gift to our kids. So having that wish list is sort of a brain dump for me and reminds me later on, oh yeah, I was looking at that. So I hope that these tips will help you to have a more affordable homeschool. Leave me a comment down below and let me know, how do you keep everything within budget in your homeschool? I know it can be overwhelming at times, and I'm still learning myself. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next time. Bye guys.